Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking again about peas. And many times when we talk about planting legumes like beans or peas, people like to pre-inoculate their seeds before they plant them. And inoculating your seeds, and basically what this is you might buy a packet of inoculants which would contain organisms or spores of various beneficial microbes like fungi or bacteria that can help facilitate the fixation of nitrogen and such like that, and form these symbiotic relationships with these plants. And so they'll take their seeds, they'll throw it in a jar of water with the inoculant, and they'll try to swish it around to try and make sure that at least some of the spores or whatever stick to the seeds, and they immediately go out and plant those seeds that have been exposed to that inoculant. Many people claim that it can help speed plant growth, it can help add to the health, the vitality of the plants, and it may also speed germination. It can have kind of a disease suppressive effect in many respects, and also because some of these microbes like the mycorrhizal fungi and rhizobia bacteria that form these symbiotic relationships with these plants, they can, if there are no living roots present in the soil, these microbes can't survive there either. So they will oftentimes maybe go dormant or die, these plants, and by the next spring you essentially have to start from scratch if you don't have any living roots in the soil. So people try to use these inoculants to speed up this process of getting the soil to reestablish those beneficial microbe communities. Now, personally, I'm a huge fan of trying to do things myself. So what I want to do today is I am looking around the landscape for a perennial legume, and I'm going to dig up some of the soil right around the base of the plant, right around the roots. And this will hopefully contain some of the inoculants necessary to pre-inoculate these pea seeds. And I'm going to be inoculating the green arrow peas, and I'll be doing that in a separate plot from some of the other peas that I've planted and have been growing, so that I can try to gauge and see if there's any differences or benefits or drawbacks between those two different plots. So what kinds of legumes might I consider trying for this experiment? So of course they have to be perennial, right? Because living roots are going to host those beneficial organisms. So I'm going to be looking for perennial legumes like sweet clover, Carolina lupine, but specifically what I'm going to try today is a ornamental wisteria bush that is growing out by the side of the house. It is a woody perennial vine, and even though it can be a very aggressive, very invasive plant, it can even topple trees. If you look down at the soil at the base of the plant, it actually does an amazing job of enriching the soil with organic matter. It makes the soil an absolute joy to work with. If you're able to look beyond the many and very impactful negative aspects of this plant, it can really do wonders to the soil. There might be certain types of native plants. If you want to grow wisteria, you might want to consider the American wisteria, which is at least a native plant, and it might not be quite as invasive, but that's probably more of a relative statement than anything else. I believe this variety might be like some type of ornamental Chinese wisteria. So that's the variety that I'm going to be experimenting with today, since it's already on the property. So here is the wisteria plant. You can see the nice thick stem, and I am going to zero in here on near the root base, and this is where I'm going to try and get the inoculants for these peas. So I'm taking a trowel here, I'm going to rake away the mulch layer a little bit, and then I'm going to dig down with a trowel and harvest some of this nice rich soil. And I'm going to put this in a jar, and I'll try to harvest it from a few different areas around the plant, and then we can take this jar, and I'm going to add some water into it, and then I'll add the pea seeds, and this is kind of a wet inoculation of the seeds, and I'm going to stir it around, shake it around pretty good for a minute, maybe a couple of minutes or so, until I'm satisfied that the seeds are relatively well coated. So now we'll take the ZRPs and I'm going to plant these in the garden. I don't know how photosensitive any of these inoculant spores or microorganisms are, so hopefully they can tolerate a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes. That may or may not be an important factor to consider in this for right now. So hopefully that sun exposure is not too much of a big deal, but maybe that would need some further testing or research to prove out one way or the other. So with that, I think that's about it for this video. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll have to check in again to see how these plants are doing in a future video and document and to compare if there are any differences and any observations that are going on at that time. I hope to see you in a future video, and take care.